Welcome to another Stampin' Fun Friday. This week I have a Father's Day card to share with you. It doesn't specifically say Father's Day, so if you just want to use it as like a thank you for a dad or something like that, it would work for that as well. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cute little owl from Hero Arts. It's from their newest little catalog, and I'm going to stamp it on several sheets of pattern paper here, and I just am using some scraps that I had lying around. These are all from the Cherry Hill October Afternoon collection. And I'm just using some Black Memories ink to stamp my owl. And what I'm going to be doing is paper piecing my owl together to create my own little unique and whimsical accent for my card. I'm going to use the owl that I stamped on the text paper as the base for all the other pieces. So I cut that out, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut out several of the pieces from the other patterns. So I'm going to cut out one of the wings from the red paper, and then I decided to cut the feet out from the yellow. So I'm just going to trim those out real quick and get all my pieces laid out so I know what I need. And I needed another wing and the beak, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp the owl a couple more times. And then I'm going to cut out the beak from the orange paper and cut out the other wing from the blue pattern paper. And again, I'm just using all scraps that I had laying around. I love using up my scraps by making cards. I'm just going to add a little dab of glue there to the beak of the owl and add that little tiny orange beak that I just cut out. Just using my scissors to help position it before that glue dries. Sometimes a little pointy tip is easier than my fingers. And I went ahead and cut out that blue wing, and I'm just going to adhere that to the owl as well. And then I noticed that I didn't have any eyes, so I went ahead and there's just a little white strip on one of my pattern papers, so I stamped the eye portion of the owl on that, and I'm going to cut it out and layer those eyes right on top of my paper piecing, and it really helps make the eyes pop a little bit. A fun touch, I think, for little critters and birds and things that you might use on your cards is to add googly eyes, especially if it's a more fun or whimsical type card. So I'm just taking some little googly eyes. I added a little dot of glue and just added a couple little eyes there, and they just add a fun touch to the card. I already have a piece of cardstock that I cut to 4¼ inches wide by 11, and I just folded it in half and rounded the corners. And then I had a little scrap of paper that's a 4x4 scrap that I had embossed with the diamond embossing folder, a new one from Quick Cuts. And it was for another project, and I ended up not using it, so I kept that, and I'm just going to use it for my card and add another little pattern paper strip to the bottom. So everything is kind of just from what I would call junk that's laying on my table, but I'm using it up and making something useful with it. The little branch is also a die cut from the Quick Cuts. There's a set of 3 branches, and I had used several of the other branches on another project and had this one left over. So I'm going to go ahead and use it here and just adhere it along the seam where my embossed cardstock and pattern paper meet. I'm going to go ahead and adhere my owl to my card now. Just use a little adhesive there. Grab a couple of the feet so I make sure and get it positioned correctly. And after I get the body of the owl adhered, I'm going to go ahead and really carefully add some adhesive to the little feet there and add those to the branch as well. And there you can see it's coming together. And I'm going to take this little word bubble. It is from another Hero Arts stamp set. I tried out a couple other ideas that didn't really work out, so I stamped it again, and then I'm just going to take this little phrase or greeting that says "Just for You" from the All Occasion Sentiments stamp set, from Hero Arts, And I've stamped that in Versamark, and I'm just going to sprinkle on some leaf embossing powder from American Crafts and emboss that. And I stamped the Just For You kind of near the top of the word bubble so that I left enough room that I can apply these Jenny Bolin rub-ons, and I want to put Dad. And usually when I'm applying rub-ons, I like to start in the middle of the phrase or the word and adhere that first. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere the A. And then I'm going to lay it down, and when I did that, I noticed that I had put the A up too high. So I needed to remove it. And an easy way to do that is take a little piece of Scotch tape, lay it right over the rub-on, and it'll come right up. So I lucked out. So I started over, and I started with a D this time. So I made sure and left enough room for all of my letters. So that's just a little tip if you ever need to remove some rub-ons. Some work more easily than others, but you can see here the Jenny Bolin ones came up no problem. So that was really nice. I decided that I thought maybe the little word bubble needed a little dimension, so I'm going to add some pop dots to the back of it and adhere that to my card now. Just a cute little thought bubble for my little owl. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take that same sheet of rub-ons I used, and it has these cute little lines, kind of like little kids use in elementary school to learn to write their letters. And I'm just going to cut out the section that I want and lay it over the bottom of my card there. And you can see it overlaps a little, so I'm just going to take my scissors and trim off that excess before I adhere it to my card, because I don't want any of that transferring to the white border or background of my card. And I'm just going to take my stylus and rub that on really carefully, because those little lines are really thin. But these rub-ons do really well. I haven't had any trouble with those. So, and there you can see it's left a cute little line. And I am going to add the phrase, I love you. And so I'm going to start at the middle of the phrase with the V. I'm just going to line that up with the little line rub-on I applied a second ago. And we'll add the whole phrase there at the bottom of my card. These rub-ons are really cute. They come in quite a few different colors too. So I'm just adding, I'm adding it all in smaller case letters. I thought that would be kind of fun and go with the feeling of the card. And then I wanted a little period, and there isn't any, so I'm just going to use the top of one of the letter J's to finish off that card. And finally, I want to add just a little embellishment, so I'm going to staple some string there to the branch. Just trying to get away from me. And then just add a couple more staples to the other side. And then I will tie my string in a little bow and snip the ends. Just nothing fancy to it, just tie it on there. And then I always like to add just a little dab of glue to the center of any of my bows that I make with string on cards. Because your cards get handled a lot of times the bow will come undone. So I like to make sure I secure it with a little dab of glue. And I like to use diamond glaze, so it's always sitting out on my desk. And that's it for this week's card. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.